Welcome to the Art of Money podcast with Art McPherson.
Thanks for listening to the Art of Money podcast, artofmoneyradio.com for more information or to schedule that initial consultation. Appreciate you subscribing. Now, let's get to the show. By the year 2045, baby boomer parents are expected to hand down $53 trillion in assets to millennials and Gen Zs. But there was a study from New York Life that's raising questions over whether this younger generation, if they're ready for what's being called the Great Wealth Transfer, with more than half saying they don't feel confident that they're prepared for this windfall of money coming their way. So when you work with the families, with the boomers who are preparing to pass this money down, how are you preparing them to move this money? And for this millennial generation, how should they be prepared?
Well, one of the things that we are trying to do for mom and dad as they're getting ready to pass this to the kids and the grandkids is making sure it's as tax efficient as possible. So unfortunately, for a lot of people, they have the bulk of their net worth or the bulk of their money is their 401ks and their home, right? So one of the things that can be done is you want to make sure that your house doesn't have to be probated. So there's ways to do that. So we will make sure our clients can make sure that the home can pass right to the kids and the grandkids without having to be probated. The second biggest asset, which is typically their 401k, a lot of times, especially in that group that is passing this wealth right now, there was no such thing as a Roth IRA back in the day. So they don't have a lot of Roth money or tax-free money. So all that money, even though there probably isn't any estate tax problems, they're going to have to look at how much of a tax burden when this money becomes available for my kids and my grandkids are they going to have to stomach. So there's some solves and solutions around that on how to prepare to pay some of that tax or make sure it's in assets that are liquid enough that the kids and the grandkids can immediately disperse and have those funds available to pay the tax, because the IRS man doesn't wait. He wants to be paid.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so you guys remember that little rule called the Secure Act a couple years ago? Well, this was probably looking at all this money being transferred down. So within the Secure Act, it says if you give an IRA, 401k, any qualified type of money to your kids or grandkids or somebody besides your spouse, that person has 10 years to take it all out and pay the tax. So it used to be the baby boomers, right, or those, prior to 3-4 years ago, could inherit the IRA and take it out over their whole lifetime. Well, now the government said, well, we're actually going to let you, the owner of the IRA, not take your RMDs as early as 70, maybe you're 72 or now even maybe 75, but your kids are taking it out in 10 years. So if we flash forward to 2045, and we should somehow notate this, what do you think tax rates are going to be in 2045?
Probably about 75%.
And now
we're going now.
Right. Now this article is $53 trillion in assets. It's not all IRA 401k, but let's just take a stab, maybe $20 trillion is IRA. Well, all of that is going to be taxed over the next 10 years. That is a lot of revenue for the government to overspend and borrow and put on credit.
Luke,
right?
Why do you say such things?
Gosh, the path we're going down is not a good one, but these trillions of dollars are going to be taxed a lot differently than they have in the past, and that's what Art was talking about, getting mom and dad or getting, the boomers, ready to either give it to the kids tax-free or have a plan to get it to the kids tax-free.
What can you do to prepare us for this windfall, for our tax situation?
Yeah, so for the windfall, the easiest way to do it is through a Roth conversion. So you convert the IRA now, you pay the tax, you let it grow tax-free for your lifetime, you pass it down, your kids let it grow tax-free for 10 years. So there's Roth conversions. You can also do life insurance, right? Take cash, or even take money out of the IRA 401k, pay the life insurance, kids get that tax-free. If you have an estate tax issue, right, which estate tax limits are going back down when the Trump tax cuts expire, so they're going to cut in half, so you're going to have more people having estate tax issues. You may need an ILET, an irrevocable life insurance trust. There's all sorts of things we can do depending on your net worth, depending on your assets, but definitely let's do some planning to get it to the kids tax-free.
Yeah, one of the things we like to do, Mark, is make sure when you get a windfall of money, even if it's $100,000 or $200,000, realize the power that money can provide. It can actually be life-changing for you if you don't just go and blow it. So most people, when they get a windfall, and it can be $1 million, it can be $500,000, it can be $100,000, it can be $10 million. That money is literally gone without any planning, usually in a year and a half. It's hard to believe that, but I have seen it, and it is true.
321-425-8550, artofmoneyradio.com to meet the team and to schedule that consultation. Art McPherson, Luke McCarty. The market has recovered nicely from last year's low, but I want you to hear this clip from analyst Carter Worth, who told CNBC that maybe it's time for things to slow down.
If you exert yourself too much in the gym, you must take a rest, or you have the coronary. You do it in the library for 9 hours, you hurt your eyes, and you actually blow the test, or you go take a rest. Point being, we're at a point, whether you're bearish or bullish, one can anticipate or want a proper garden variety sell-off, correction, dip, drawdown.
So he continued on and said his prediction of a slowdown is a 9% pullback. Do you agree?
Well, we've kind of hit that since August. If you look at the markets themselves, we kind of peaked in August, and we've had a little bit of a pullback there. If you look at the NASDAQ, you look at the S&P, we're well off the highs for both of them, pretty close to those numbers. So are we going to rebound from here? Does he expect that to be another 9% off of where we've kind of pulled back so far? We'll see, but most of our indicators that Luke and I look at, we actually saw a couple of things change positive that had been in the red for us. So we have conflicting information, so we have some things that say things are slowing down. We have some things that say things are still okay. So it's kind of hard to know what to do sometimes on whether it's a time to hold steady, buy, go more aggressive, or be more conservative. And we're getting conflicting data at this point a little bit.
At a certain point, right, if the market keeps going up, it's going to crash even harder. The markets just can't go straight up. Stocks just can't go straight up. They can for a while, and they can go up longer than you expect them to. But, I agree with some sort of a pullback or some sort of a pause here, because if we do, that's healthy. Whereas if the market just keeps going higher and higher and higher, and as interest rates are going higher, as mortgages are unaffordable, as credit card debts, skyrocketing, as, cars are being towed away because people can't make their car payments. There's all these underlying themes that want you to say, hey, the market's not going higher for very much longer, especially with the Fed being against us. So I'm on board for sort of a pullback. And we are, like Art was saying, have some conflicting data, some conflicting indicators. But what we're focused on right now are dividends, strong balance sheets, good companies, free cash flow, companies that make money. Because if you make money, right, the interest rates don't hurt you as much because you don't need to borrow as much to try to make money, where some of these high-tech flyers need money to borrow to make their money. So that's kind of where we're positioned now from a standpoint of, if we do go through a pause, at least we have our dividends coming in.
Luke, when you sit down with somebody and you create that income plan, when you create that retirement plan, the market, the volatility of the market, how, I don't want to say scared, but how concerned are your clients about the market? Or are they more concerned about, let's say, inflation or Social Security benefits? I'm just curious where that weighs on the minds of a lot of the families that you serve.
Yeah, I'd say the biggest concern now seems to be political. A lot of people have political issues, whether they're for or against the current administration, or they're for or against Trump, or there's always another election coming. There's always something that's happening that, we get news on our phone so easily that you can be in tune. And we can tell the people, especially the ones who are retired, that, are at home watching the news because they know more about it than we do. But, there's always concern about, politics. Of course, there's some concerns about Social Security being there. But my opinion on Social Security is, if you're getting it right now, or if you're within 5 years of receiving it, it's probably not going to change. But, if you're younger, there's going to be some changes on the Social Security front.
Yeah, well, the way we look at Social Security is plan for things to diminish, not increase. So Social Security benefits for the people that are on the plan right now are probably going to be the richest plans that are available, because unfortunately our government sends lots of money away to places that don't benefit us here in the United States.
What?
And they're wasteful with our money. Yeah. They're supposed to be good stewards of that. It is literally our tax dollars that they send to places like Ukraine. And for the life of me, I don't understand why that's not a NATO situation and why that's in a United States situation. I don't know. But it is just, those things are frustrating. So when people see that on the news every day, and they see a lot of corruption going on right now, and they see a lot of politicization of the FBI, the CIA, our 3-letter agencies that have never been politicized like that in the past, it is kind of disconcerting for sure. And people are wanting to know, what should we do?
What do we do now? 321 425-8550, artofmoneyradio.com. And one of those conversations you're going to have is your 401k strategy. So let's say you leave a job and you've got a 401k. Now, a lot of people recommend moving it to a new 401k or possibly an IRA. But there are some employers that ask you to keep that money with them. Now, this is your old job. They want you to keep the money with them and move it into something called a managed payout fund. So if someone has an old 401k and they hear that managed payout fund, what is that? And is it a good option?
It's new. It's new in the industry. It's something that is just starting to happen. I would say no to a managed payout option because you're giving some of that discretion to the employer itself. Usually in a 401k, if you're under the age of 55 or under the age of 59 and a half, but you're over 55, there's a good ability to stay in that plan for a while because you can do the 55 rule, which is you can pull money from a qualified account without having that 10% penalty on qualified funds. So you can have money for income and things like that if you're retiring. But if you're planning to work at another employer, typically you can take a 401k and roll it to your new 401k plan or your new qualified plan. However, if you're kind of within that 5 years or what we call that retirement red zone of retirement and you're thinking of, hey, I'd like to diversify a little bit more. I'd like to be able to take my money and get in non-correlated investments. So when the market's going down, I have some money that's not going down. So you can do that by rolling those 401k funds over. There's lots of things you can do at that transition point. So a lot of times when people come in here the first time, we help them with those type of accounts and help them reposition it and take advantage of their circumstance and see if, hey, should we put that in the new plan? Should you roll that over into individual IRA? Do you need some income? What's your goals? What's your objectives? And when does that income start? Is it 60? Is it 65? Is it 59 and a half? When are you pulling income?
Yeah, and so if you left a job and your 401k is still there, right, did you leave on good terms or bad terms? I say if you leave on bad terms, right, take your money and go take it with you to the new 401k or roll it to an IRA. And even if you left on good terms, your 20 options inside the 401k are pretty limited. Your new 401k probably has the same 20 options, but they're named a little differently. And 15 of those options in your 401k are a target date. That's a target date 2020, 2025, 2030. And it's a blend of those other funds that you have in your plan. So more often than not, it's better for you to get it out of the 401k structure because you just have more options. Right, you can buy individual stocks, you can write options, you can buy individual bonds, you can buy alternatives. You can do so much more outside of the 401k, and that's usually where we come in and say, hey, here's what you're currently doing, right? If you leave it there, here's what it looks like, versus if we do some things differently, here's what your risk looks like. And that's the big kicker, is the risk you're taking in the 401k is typically higher than you think it is.
321-425-8550 to talk about your 401k strategy. And Luke, earlier in the show, we were talking about, what's on people's mind. Is it inflation? Are they worried about Social Security? But something that we've talked about it here on the Art of Money radio show, that 401k strategy is so important to a retirement plan, especially the fees. So Luke, when you sit down with somebody, do you spend a good amount of time just thumbing through, deep diving into 401ks, just trying to find those fees?
We do. And for instance, on some of those target date funds I was mentioning, Fidelity is a big custodian here in our area. And there's a 2035 or 2030, you name it, and the fee is about 0.8%. So you're paying a little bit less than 1% to have Fidelity buy Fidelity funds for you. And, looking at that, you just don't see it. And that's the difference. So with our fees, you see them. The 401k has the ability within ERISA and the governance of the 401k where they tell you the fees, but they're so buried that it's not very open. And I think if you knew that you were paying 0.75, 0.8% in the 401k versus hiring an advisor, somebody, at the same rate or, 1% or even a little bit lower, you may make a different decision.
Yeah, that's one of the things that we do, Mark, is we'll evaluate fees for our clients and then we show them if they're going to hire us and we're going to do management for them, what is their fee? And we have a thing called a blended fee too. So we may have different type of accounts that have different fee structures. So we put them all together so they know exactly what they're paying. They know exactly what their fee is. And that way they know exactly what's going on with their accounts and their money. And there is no question about it. And that way they can see it finally, because usually, like Luke had mentioned there, a lot of times they have no idea what they're paying.
Thanks for listening. Want more from Art McPherson of McPherson Financial Group? Find us online at artofmoneyradio.com.
We are an independent financial services firm helping individuals create retirement strategies using a variety of financial and insurance products to custom suit their needs and objectives. Securities offered through World Equity Group, Inc., member FINRA and SIPC, a registered investment advisor. Investment advisory services offered through ProStatus Group, LLC. McPherson Financial Group and ProStatus Group, LLC are separate entities and are not owned or controlled by World Equity Group, Inc. Exposure to ideas and financial vehicles discussed should not be considered investment advice or recommendation to buy or sell any financial vehicle. Past performance is not a guarantee of future results. Investments can fluctuate and when redeemed may be worth more or less than when originally invested. Investment financial professionals are not licensed in all 50 states. Art McPherson is not affiliated with nor endorsed by the Social Security Administration or any other government agency and does not provide legal or tax advice. Please consult with your attorney, accountant, and or tax advisor for advice concerning your particular circumstances. Annuity guarantees rely solely on the financial strength and claims paying ability of the issuing insurance company. By contacting us, you may be provided with information about insurance and annuity products offered through Arthur McPherson. Florida Insurance License number A174. 725.
Today's show has been a work of art.